and you're joining us for a PUC podcast. The Pull Up a Chair podcast. We talk about, nostalgia, things from a long time ago. And we invite you to pull up a chair and just sit down and listen to us, our smooth, silky voices. Right now you're listening to Nick. And you could say that I'm the one talking. The one you're going to hear talking here in a few minutes is, of course, my friend and co-host.
This is Eric, coming at you with my voice.
And Eric, today, well, let me just say, look who's talking. You just talked, sir, and much like that, there was a movie back in the late 80s, and it had a sequel in the early 90s, and another sequel which we'll get to. But it was called Look Who's Talking. A little movie, if you remember these movies, they were about a baby who comes out of the womb and doesn't talk verbally, but talks
With sign language?
in their head.
Emotionally?
Yeah, emotionally. Their emotional voice.
I guess all babies really talk more emotionally than anything.
Very true. It's just it's a 2-hour movie of a kid crying. That's all it
Sounds
is.
pleasant.
Yeah, I mean, it is. He's just screeching away. But Eric, what do you remember about the Look Who's Talking movies?
Well, so in the opening scenes, what always really captivated me was the scene where you have all the sperm swimming to the egg. You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And then the baby grows and develops in the belly, and that's and it's talking in the belly there. It wasn't until I was when that movie came out, I was 10. So I probably saw it in 1990. So I know I didn't see it in the theaters. I don't believe so. I saw it. As always, we rented it, copied it, and so we had it. My dad still has it, I imagine.
Copied it? How did you copy it?
VCR to VCR, man.
We're not talking the age of things like burning CDs or ripping DVDs or anything like that. My friend, we are talking about. Are you talking? Did you say hooking 2 VHSs up?
Yeah.
To this, that's crazy.
Yeah, I mean we did these things.
Yeah,
we were rebels. We ignoring the FBI warning, which is really about redistribution and charging people to watch the movie again. It never said you can't copy it.
Well, when we did it, my dad, of course, like I've mentioned before, we had a Betamax.
Yeah, you've talked about the Beta.
Yeah,
better quality. One
day we may do a Beta cast. I think we threatened to do that last time we talked about the Betamax.
I know nothing about the Betamax. I'd have to.
Oh, buddy, I would bring all my Betamax knowledge.
You could
all the
educate
memories,
me.
all the memories I have of the Betamax. It instead of being pushed in, like
you push it down.
Yeah, it was you'd push it in and it had this little cartridge that popped up and down.
Yeah.
Dad did not like it when I would sit there and just play with that thing and have it shoot up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because he was worried it would break the mechanism or whatever. But I mean, you would. We just wouldn't. Dad would record after the FBI warning came on.
Like he would make sure he didn't have it on the recording?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, we would normally wait until the movie started and just start recording then. So we never had to. One, so we could get as many movies we could on a single tape. I think we could get 2 to 3 movies depending on.
Well, that was if you did like. It was bad quality. It was long play or whatever.
Well, yeah.
There was like EP, which was
extended play,
and
super extended play, right? Or is it? Well, I don't remember the
you get like 6 hours on a disc on extended play. I thought.
Yeah.
There was LP, SP, and EP, I believe. I'll look that up. Or SLP. I don't remember.
Yeah. Well, we did the second one, which gave us 6 hours. The other one gave you 9.
Oh, did it?
Yeah. But it was garbage.
Yeah,
right?
it was trash.
Yeah, so
Which, going back and looking at them now, doing things where I've taken video and put them on DVD for my family, it was pretty much all trash. Like, I've found old shows that my dad recorded, and it was all garbage.
Yeah.
It didn't matter if you did the short version or long version. It was pretty bad. But that doesn't help us get anywhere with Look Who's Talking.
I mean, true.
But you are right. I remember the beginning opening where it shows and I'd have to go back and look. I haven't seen this movie in forever. I guess that's part of the thing, but I do remember you see the sperm trying to get into the egg. Yeah. And there's like one that's like, hey guys, let me in, or something like that. Yes, I remember this. And it...
Well, what really caught me about that is when I kind of the age where you go to like sex ed in school.
Yes.
And then I watched that, understanding more of what's going on there. Mm-hmm. Because as a kid, it's just like, oh, I don't really understand this. And I don't know what's going on. Like at 10, I didn't really entirely understand it. But a couple years later, I'm sitting there going, oh, the perspective of this and what's happening. And like, I'm like, oh, He just like, oh, yeah, okay. They
go for it.
They're all, I mean, yeah. I can't remember, I think. I think they have a scene like where they're just finished or something in bed still.
They may, because if I'm reading the synopsis and I'm remembering this somewhat. Kirstie Alley, who plays Molly, is having an affair with a guy by the name of Albert, and he's a womanizing executive that she works for, played by none other than George Segal.
Yeah.
Who, if you watch The Goldbergs, plays the unassuming, lovable Pops.
Yeah, or what's that? What was the other?
Just Shoot Me.
Just Shoot Me. I watched a lot of Just Shoot Me with David Spade.
So, anyway, but you find out that he's cheating on his wife with her, and of course promises to leave his wife for Kirstie Alley, but then they catch him with another girl.
Yeah.
And so it's just this thing. Anyway, after they have sex is when you get that scene. And
so as a kid, you don't think anything of it really. Yeah, it's hard to really connect the two. I was a pretty sheltered kid. I didn't have cable or nothing the dirtiest thing in my house is probably the Bible.
And that's just because
other than the time
just dusty.
Yeah, my house it was.
Oh.
Other than the time my brother rented a Chuck Norris film that was very explicit, which I've talked about on the show before. It's like a lot of nudity and killing, and my parents let us watch about half of it, and it was like, okay, we're done with this. And I was just like, sure took you a while to stop it. But that's besides the point. So they get coitus is over. And the process of fertilization has begun.
Yes.
A zygote is made.
And you start to get none other than Die Hard himself, John McClane. Realize this child is named Mikey. I believe later on he would change his name to John McClane.
That would be awesome if that was if they were in the same...
Mikey McClane.
Mikey McClane. That'd be good.
Yeah, if it was all in the same universe.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. I mean, basically stepdad is John Travolta, so that'd be, even though the character's James.
Yeah, James is actually, so it says Molly leaves upset after she finds Albert, basically cheating again, and immediately goes into labor. She gets into a cab where the driver, James Ubriakico, I nailed it, recklessly speeds through downtown traffic in order to get her to the hospital on time, and he is inadvertently witness to her son Mikey's birth, and that's when Mikey begins his commentary on his life and interacts with things through an inner voice which he communicates with other babies. So, have you ever seen two kids just sit there stare at each other?
Or babble.
Well, no, I mean, yeah, I guess in this movie they did babble, didn't they?
Yeah.
But even if I remember correctly, doesn't like when he comes out and he starts crying, isn't he like, oh my goodness? Like you hear Bruce Willis's,
Yeah, the inner
voice going, what's going on? There's so much light, or something to that effect. But yeah, he can communicate with other babies, and so they just sit there and they talk to each other. And I think I even remember a scene where they're in the room where all the babies are, and you can just hear them talking to each other, like their inner voices are talking.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. So. But so I saw this movie as a kid, enjoyed it. It's really good. I didn't even look it up on IMDb to kind of get a broader sense of what other people thought. To me, it's just a classic movie from my childhood. It has a 5.8, which is astounding to me because I think it's a better movie than that, especially for having two sequels that came out so quickly.
Well, I mean, here's my deal is that, one, you got to look at it. I mean, it's got a 59% on Rotten Tomatoes, and it's got a CineScore gave the film an average grade of A on an A+ to F. I mean, I would honestly give it probably about a B. I mean, it wasn't. I mean, it was not. It's not Shakespeare.
No,
it's nothing. Nothing to that, any close to that, but it's a fun movie.
Yeah, especially, I'm not.
It's definitely not a kid's movie.
Well, I don't know. Is it? I mean, the beginning doesn't seem like a kid's movie, but most of the rest does.
Well, I
but
guess
it's from his perspective and trying to understand the world. The scene that I always think of is when they're visiting the bio dad. Biodad's character at like his work it's at his house. I can't remember. Maybe it was not his biological dad. I mean, it was visiting some guy that wasn't good with kids, and Mikey's talking to himself. He's like, I can take those little metal things and put them in those holes in the wall. Speaking of like the outlets and stuff, I just really remember that. I'm like, oh, that's a clever kind of, just like. The perspective is great. And I like that. I mean, it's not something you think about a lot with, I have kids. I don't really think of their perspective in terms of what they think of objects that they don't know the name of.
Right.
Until they ask or something. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's this or that's that. And so, yeah, I don't know.
Well, and of course, I mean, I will say it follows he tells him to, that's right. He tells him to put him back inside.
Put me back inside. Put me back inside.
Oh, for that back. Oh, well, we're following the YouTube, currently following the YouTube closed captioning. And I got to tell you, they don't do the best job.
Yeah. It's probably auto closed caption. So, oh man. So they did a good job. I mean, that's a really tiny baby.
Yeah.
It's pretty clean, though, and not the right color for a freshly born baby.
Well, I mean, they sprayed it with a hose.
I guess. It's really clean.
You know how you do? You spray the baby with a hose whenever.
Yeah, you just like pull them, spray them, wrap them in burlap, toss them on the mom, and you kick them out of the hospital. So, well,
and this, so James, I mean, then the rest of it becomes basically just a romance movie. You have James realizing his feelings for Molly.
Yeah.
And he starts sabotaging some of her dates.
Yeah, because they're kind of friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if I remember correctly, he even lives in the same building.
I don't.
Or was that the series Baby Talk I'm remembering from TGIF?
Which was kind of based off this, wasn't it?
Oh yes, like
clearly
it took a lot of.
That was on. Was that even a full season? Was Baby Talk on even a full season?
Buddy, I'm surprised that I'm even remembering Baby Talk. I didn't even look this up. Now, of course, it is connected, but it was on from March 8th, 1991 until May 8th, 1992.
So
And
a
it had
year.
a total of 35 episodes.
Wow.
So it says it was on for 2 seasons.
Okay.
We may do a baby talk later, but so this movie of course, it spirals into just your typical romance love story type of thing. James and Molly kind of dance around each other with the baby kind of.
Well, they see that. I mean, she's that classic thing where it's like she's the mom, but she wants to go date, but so she needs to have a babysitter, and I think he's babysitting, and she doesn't really like him because he's kind of crude and all that, but he knows the baby. She trusts him with the baby, but she's starts seeing him as a good father figure.
Yeah.
And kind of like how the baby, like really how Mikey has fun with and really likes James, John Travolta's character, and they have a good time together, and she sees that and kind of sees him in the new light, and romance starts developing from there. So, and I'm going to guarantee you, in the real world, that does not work. That's not.
Why does that not work?
That's just not how that works.
You're telling me the typical love, the formula that they come up with does not work?
Oh no, man. That's a big load of Mikey's diapers right there, man. So, but that's not the point. So that's kind of how that, if I remember right. I'm really going off of my memory. I've probably seen this movie 15 times because I watched it a lot as a kid during the summer. And Kirstie Alley's character, she's very attractive, and that's why I watched it when I was a kid.
Of course, Kirstie Alley, the boss at none other than Cheers.
Yeah.
Which would later on spawn John McClane. No, I'm just kidding. But I mean, that's the thing is James kind of becomes this character in her life. He actually gets in a fight with Albert whenever Albert comes to.
Oh yeah, he punches him, doesn't he?
I think so.
Or throws him out, or runs him into a door.
I think he throws him out, and she gets mad at him, tells him not to come near. Basically, not to come near Mikey anymore, but. It all works out because Mikey, and I remember this, Mikey wanders off on his own searching for James when he sees a taxi cab outside. And
yeah, that's near the end.
Yes. This is when she calls James and frantically asks him to help, and of course he drives around, and they finally find him, and he says his first words. Do you remember what he says?
Huh.
He calls James a certain term.
Oh. Does he call him Michael from his later movie?
No. He calls him phenomenal.
Phenomenal.
No. It was Dada.
Oh, wow. But how would, I don't know. My kids, like, you teach them that. I mean, that's something you kind of have to teach them because unless they're around other people saying that word, they don't really know that word. So you teach them that. So I always wondered where he learned that word because he didn't have his dad's not involved in his life. Kirstie Alley's probably not calling James dad.
Or you mean Albert? Well, I mean, she may have. Well, but he's communicating with the other babies.
That's true.
Who say that my dad, and I'm sure he's put it together.
Okay. If we're saying that they speak in English.
Well, yeah,
form of English.
We're going off in. Well, I mean, he does communicate in English with the other babies. Their mental telepathy powers.
So once again,
babies have mentally telepathic powers to communicate with each other.
Yeah, and all babies speak in English.
Mandarin.
Clearly it's English because in Mandarin, what is father? I feel like I knew that one in Mandarin at some point.
It's Papa?
Papa?
No.
Fievel?
But no, I mean it. But buddy, when you're communicating with each other mentally, language goes by the wayside. I don't think there is any language in the.
That's what I'm saying. Then how did he know the word?
Because they use the word dada. They use the word.
They use
daddy.
the word. They use the idea of dada. Whatever they call it is not in English,
right? Even if it's not, even if it's Glorpenstein is what one baby calls it. He hears daddy because your brain automatically translates into the.
It's like the TARDIS.
Yes.
Okay, so they have some sort of auto translation ability.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, there's a switch in the brain. It's been scientifically proven. Don't look that up. But at the end of this movie, 9 months later, after they've decided to give it a chance, Molly and James.
Yeah. Molly
gives birth to her and James's daughter, Julie. When Mikey greets his half-sister, she tells him she had a day he would not believe. And of course, he looks at the camera because he's been there, done that,
owns the T-shirt.
And my friend, this of course leads to a little movie we like to call, in 1990, 1 year later, it leads to a little movie called Look Who's Talking To. Now, did you see this movie?
I saw I had this one too. So no, but I was very surprised when we're looking back on this. I thought the sequel to this movie, Look Who's Talking To, was from about 93. That's what I said. That was about 93 when that one came out, which it wasn't. It was the next year at 1990. But looking back and talking about it now, the character who plays Julie was at the end of Look Who's Talking, who voiced Julie in Look Who's Talking 2. So that means that they had prepared a cast already to cast this, but they cast another well-known actress.
Who did they cast? I mean, because if you're gonna have another voice next to arguably one of the biggest voices biggest names in the market at the time, 1989, 1990. Bruce Willis himself, Die Hard. We're talking. You'd have to get a superstar up in there to voice opposite of him. So, what superstar? What amazing actress did they bring in for this role?
This actress was well known for her voice. In fact, she sang the national anthem.
Oh, well, this must be somebody amazing.
So she sang the national anthem at was it a World Series that she did that
yes.
at?
No. It was just a game.
Normal game. So what year did that happen?
Well, it was probably right. It was probably before this, because we of course are talking about none other than the greatest rendition. Oh, that was July 25th, 1990.
So that was around the exact same time of the release of this movie.
This movie was released a few months later, actually, December 14th, 1990. We're talking about none other than Roseanne Barr, who proved at that moment that, because doesn't she even moons the camera on the way out, doesn't she?
No, she grabs her crotch.
Does she? Okay.
Yeah, that's what she does. She grabs her crotch and kind of the baseball, like a gesture cup kind of motion going on, we'll say. So Roseanne has a storied past in Hollywood and beyond. So but a very unique voice. When you think of a little girl, you don't really think of Roseanne Barr's voice. So it's almost off-putting to think of that's the inner voice of this little precious little angel girl. And having a daughter, I would not want my daughter to sound like Roseanne Barr, even in her inner thoughts. So, but I don't know. At the beginning of this movie, I forgot that the baby almost dies.
Well, yeah, she's got her umbilical cord wrapped around her neck, I believe.
Yes, and I had a friend that's how they lost their first kid, and that's a very dangerous.
My brother came out with his umbilical cord wrapped around his neck. Actually.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Wow.
It's a dangerous situation.
So, but yeah, so that's that's where that goes. And they end up, you know, kind of, do you have the synopsis on that one going on? Just kind of like, I'm trying to remember the storyline. It's just them.
Well, it's one that he's, you know, when Julie meets Mikey, Julie's the name of the girl, she's unimpressed with him. And Big Brother, meanwhile, he still does the voice in his head. Bruce Willis is still there, but he talks out loud too. But his main storyline is that he is trying to learn potty training.
Oh yes, that's his backstory.
And we have a toilet man, voiced by none other than a great comedian. Which, I mean, I guess, I don't know why you would bring in this man to do the voice of Toilet Man, but Mel Brooks, I mean, a great comedian.
Great comedian. Great voice.
/ director / actor /
writer.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about the guy that does it all. But yeah, Mel Brooks, I mean, man, just a great voice. His voice is so aggressive sounding.
Well, and even when we just watched because you and I, we were both like, he was really in this, and then we watched the video. I mean, he's got that, like you said, he's got that very distinctive voice. Yeah. You know when it's Mel Brooks. And so, I mean, that of course is, I mean, that's kind of a big deal. Gilbert Gottfried was also in this movie, by the way.
Oh man! Oh, is he another baby?
No, he is like a baby gym instructor. The baby gym.
Oh yeah, they have they do that parachute thing or something.
Something like that.
Something like that, where they have the parachute or the thing and they wave it up and down over kids. I kind of remember that.
Well, and of course, Molly and James are having a few issues.
Yes.
You got to have the drama going on with that. It says, following the death of her beloved stuffed penguin, Herbie, Julie decides to learn to walk and leave. So her storyline is that she doesn't feel accepted into the family and decides to get up and leave. And so we come to the end again, and it says, one night as James prepares to fly, Molly watches the news and learns the storms are all around the area. She goes to James before he takes off, leaving Stuart with Mikey and Julie. I'm not really sure who Stuart is. She catches him and tries to persuade him not to take off just as the control tower cancels the flight. The two then make up. Meanwhile, a burglar, I remember this storyline, there is presumably the same one who also robbed her friend Rona, Molly's friend Rona, breaks in and runs when Stuart comes in with his unloaded gun. Stuart pursues him, having forgotten about the kids and completely oblivious to the fact that he left paper on the hot stove, which quickly causes a fire to start. Mikey doesn't panic and takes charge, pushing Julie out of the apartment to safety. Stuart and the burglar run into James, who subdues the thief. James subdues... Oh.
Yeah, right. He punches him. Like, Stuart's like the babysitter.
Right.
They're wrestling and fighting. And as that's going on, the fire breaks out, and Mikey pushes Julia and her little roller bouncer into the elevator and down. And as James and Molly arrived running in to get the kids, the elevator opens and Mikey pushes Julie out
to safety. And
of course, James, being a man's man, because he's John Travolta, runs upstairs and uses his own body and mind to put out the fire.
Well, yeah, no. he uses the powers he got from Phenomenon
to extinguish the powers instantaneously.
Which I love. You know what's great is this fire extinguisher puts out this big fire. That hardly ever happens in real life. Like, I mean, they're effective, but it's not gonna like.
Oh yeah, it puts it out, and there's like no smoke.
Yeah, no smoke. I mean, he's sitting there afterwards doing like the fist pump, like I did it.
He sprayed it for maybe 4 seconds.
Oh yeah, and
on two spots, and there's instantaneously no fire in any part of the house, and that is the least smoke I've ever seen in a fire.
Oh, yes.
So,
and of course, at the end of this movie, the kids decide they need to stick together because the parents...
They need them.
They need them.
Yeah.
That's the...
Oh, yeah, that's right. Because they were going to, like, talk about not being siblings anymore or something. So...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, man.
that was the deal. She was going to leave. All right. Then at the next thing we need to talk about here, just really quickly, because I don't know that either one of us saw this movie.
I saw
you did.
it. I saw this movie, but I think I've only seen it once or twice.
Well,
I might have owned it.
I wouldn't blame you, my friend. We have to at least mention that there was a third movie called Look Who's Talking Now, with none other than dogs that talk. The kids are not talking anymore.
At all. They're told to be quiet. They're like, every time they open their mouth, they're like, shut up.
John Travolta, being a man's man, smacks them.
Yeah, I was like, if I want you to say words, I'll tell you the words to say.
Like, bring back Bruce Willis. He was cute, at least. But no, this happened 4 years later.
And I think it has is it the same actor that plays Mikey?
No.
It's different. Okay, they look similar. They have a similar look.
Mikey was actually, people may know this name. Mikey was actually David Gallagher. David Gallagher is an actor that was in quite a few movies. He was in Angels in the End Zone. He played Richie Rich for a time, but most notably he was one of the sons on the long-running show Seventh Heaven.
Okay.
He was the younger brother. And so he's been on quite a few things, but as always, you are joined by John Travolta, Kirstie Alley are there. George Segal makes a comeback in this one.
Oh, does he?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't remember that.
Charles Barkley plays himself.
Of course. I mean, no other role.
And Danny DeVito. Danny's brother, Danny DeVito plays the part of Rox, and Diane Keaton is the dog Daphne.
Yep.
And so I know nothing of this movie because I saw no reason to ever watch it. At the ripe young age of 13, I was kind of out on the Look Who's Talking movies.
I probably saw it. I know I saw. I don't remember what it's about. I know it's the dogs are talking now, and I guess each one got a dog. So, and I'm assuming the storyline kind of plays very similar to that of the second one, Too. So, just like they don't get along, or I don't know.
Well, so James he's working with a lady that, as a pilot, he's working with a lady that has a crush on him, which puts some tension between him and Molly.
As always.
And he suspects that Molly still has feelings for Albert.
Oh, okay.
And so it's just a Christmas storyline. Buddy, I don't know. I don't want to read through this whole thing because it would hurt my head too. But there is a storyline here where they both have dogs, and the dogs help James and Molly, of course, get back together.
Well, I'm happy for them. Kind of the classic 2 parents, 2 kids, 1 boy, 1 girl family structure. So,
well, I mean, Molly is convinced that she, of course, is going to get cheated on. Her mother tells her to trust James, that James is still in love with her. And, of course, everything works out after that. James realizes that... So it says, Rox runs out to track down James on his own. He finds Samantha's cabin, and James realizes that Molly has set out to find him. He confronts Samantha about her lies and intentions and quits his job, then goes with Rox to track down his family. They are attacked by wolves, and Rox fights them off while James escapes.
Good job, Rox.
Yeah, Rox being a big dog, he's
a mutt-looking dog.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Daphne has found some forest rangers that take Molly, the kids, and Daphne to safety into the cabins. They worry about James and Rox. James finds them, and Rox quickly runs in afterwards to show that he survived the encounter with the wolves. The family and dogs are happily reunited and spend Christmas together. I would have found it somewhat sad if they didn't bring the dog. Like, everybody's celebrating, and one of the kids is like, Dad, what happened to Rox?
Have you seen Rox? He ran out.
Like, oh, he decided to play with the other dogs.
Yeah,
I'm sure he's fine.
Yeah, he's having a good time.
Like, he's great. And it cuts to a bunch of wolves feeding on his
just like
carcass.
All in a pile around yeah.
All right, well, we've run out of time, Eric.
Yeah, we have. I mean,
who would have thought that Look Who's Talking would lead to so much talking?
Us.
Oh, that's very true. That's very true.
I think we could talk more about it. What's interesting is, like, we're literally remembering all these things we know from memory outside of trying to get some synapses and trying to, like, so these movies have an impact on us. I mean, we're thinking, like, what brought this up as a topic?
Well, honestly, let's see here. Oh, I remember now. I read an article that they are going to be making a remake.
A remake
of Look Who's Talking.
So they're starting over.
They're starting over. It's a reboot. No more Travolta, no more Kirstie Alley, no more Bruce Willis. We're starting all over, and they're looking to make it more diversive. They're going to diversify it a little bit. We're not just talking about, one color of babies talking. We're talking multicolor. We're talking the rainbow out there.
Rainbow of babies speaking. All right. Well, so Look Who's Talking International is soon to come out.
Keep an eye out for it. It'll be released in probably 2027. I don't know when they're still working on it. They're trying to figure out how it's going to work into the modern storytelling. By the way, let me just point out that the third one was a critical failure. It has a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes, and it made negative 50. Let's see here. Hang on, I had the numbers here. It was earning over $10 million against its $22 million budget.
Oh wow! I heard something. We talk about the budgets and how much they make. They say that if whatever the movie costs to make, so $22 million, right? That the marketing budget for the movie should be about equal to the budget for the movie.
Did that still apply in 1990, or is that
I don't know
something that only applies to today?
I don't know. They say that. I mean, even if it's just today, so some movies, if they don't earn twice their budget, they're not even breaking even. So that's beside the point. All right.
Well, I'll say this. Okay, so the first movie, for example, was made on a budget of $7.5 million and ended up making $297 million.
I mean, think about this. How much? $7.5 million budget?
Yes.
And John Travolta and Kirstie Alley, big names.
Right.
I mean, their salaries covered in that. Right? I mean,
right.
Unless they got points on top of it for the revenue, which I don't know if they did points and that kind of stuff back then.
Yeah, so I don't know. It part 2, they don't really have a take and a
looking at box office mojo.
Box office and all that stuff. They have the box office, but not how much it cost. So I'm guessing with the success of the first one, they probably paid them a bit more. The second one, and then obviously the third one to get them to come back. I'm guessing
you're probably right. I'm sure most of the increases in budget aren't from better scenes or anything like that, because the scenes look very similar. It's probably all salary. So that's a guess.
Well, it was nominated for 2 Razzie Awards, including the second one which included Worst Supporting Actor for Gilbert Gottfried and Worst Supporting Actress for Roseanne Barr.
For the first one?
Yeah, for the second one. Roseanne Barr was only in the second one.
Well, I thought she was at the very end of the first one.
I have no earthly idea, but no, the second one had the Roseanne Barr
Yeah, as
getting the Razzie. So, you got us some numbers there?
I found some numbers. So it looks like, Look Who's Talking grossed $140 million. It's probably domestic. Opening was $12 million. I need to click on it to get them. So, almost $300 million for the first one. Opening weekend. I don't see a budget on this one for its production budget. The second one, gross domestic $47 million, $8 million opening. I don't have a budget on it, and that's just domestic. So international probably add half that to it, I would assume. So probably around 70 million total. So like cut in half, and cut in half again for the third one. I don't have numbers for the budget again, but it only grossed 10 million. 4 million opening weekends. Now, I wonder if it's going to be like Coming to America, where it had high rental value. Like, where Coming to America didn't make a lot of box office money, but it's after.
I don't know that this had no high rental value. This had no value. It was a very sad movie.
Oh man!
All right, well, Eric, you know what's not sad? Where they can find us. And why don't you tell them where they can find us?
Well, you can find us all over the internet. First, you can find us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. Just search for Pulpit Chair Podcast. Twitter, our handle is @PulpitChairPod. You can find us on our own website, puckpodcast.website, pucpodcast.website, the word website. And why website? I don't know, but they told us to. And where else can you find us, Nick? We on all podcasting apps. If you're not already listening to this on a podcasting app, go find your favorite podcasting app and find us.
Stitcher,
Google, Apple, you name it.
Poddy,
the Poddy podcast.
Yeah, is that a thing?
Mel Brooks
yeah,
podcast.
He voices it.
He voices it. So you can find us all those places.
All right. Well, my friend, thank you for a riveting talk of Look Who's Talking. If you've enjoyed our discussion on Look Who's Talking and you want to tell us what we should be talking about, please leave a comment, like, subscribe. I don't know if we do that or not. But tell us what you think. Tell us if you have any fond memories of Look Who's Talking.
Oh, yeah. Or what's your favorite movie of the late 80s, early 90s? Because there was a kind of a time there when, like, these kind of movies got big and then died.
Let's go even more obscure. What's your favorite Kirstie Alley movie?
I don't know. I always thought she was super attractive, though.
Well, let's let the people answer. Don't just. That's not one for you to answer right now.
I'm just gonna go find the movies and see what I like.
All right. Well, have yourself a great day.
All right. Bye.